What are some really dangerous things most people don't realize are dangerous? Driving while tired. It can be just as dangerous as driving while drunk, but many people do it without thinking twice. For context, 20 hours awake impairs you as much as 0.08% back, which counts as DUI in many states. I'm a firefighter and it's insane sometimes driving to a house fire or cardiac arrest when we haven't slept all night. I can literally feel everything moving slower and it's sketchy. 48-hour shifts are wild. Edit. While can just DM me if you have questions you really want answered lol. To test this claim, the Mythbusters stayed up for 30 hours and drove 2 courses, one with plenty of quick stops, turns and parallel parking, and the other with 25 laps on a track. Comparing their sleep-deprived drives to those that involved taking several shots of liquor to reach a buzzed level, they surprisingly drove 10 times worse when tired than under the influence of alcohol. According to the CDC, this sounds about right. After 18 hours without sleep, the cognitive ability of drivers compares to a person with a blood alcohol content of 0.05%. Going without sleep for 24 hours sends the equivalent over the legal limit to a level of 0.10%. Not having enough sodium. There's always warnings about too much salt, but apparently if you don't have enough it can throw your body totally out of whack. Learned this after passing out and ending up in the Yep, one of its most important functions, along with potassium, is maintaining electrical potential across nerve cell membranes. Without that your nerves won't work. I work as a paramedic and I think I once had the dumbest human of all time as a patient. We get called for a cardiac issue and arrive to find a gentleman in rapid atrial fibrillation, approximately 180 BPM. After treating him, his heart rate and associated chest pain, shortness of breath, and palpitations are resolved and we begin to ask him in more detail about his medical history. He was pretty young, and seemed a little sketchy, so I thought he was just abusing cocaine, but it turned out to be much sillier than that. He had recently been diagnosed with heart problems a few weeks ago when he had a similar event occur. When he got discharged, he asked his doctor what he could do to make sure this never happened again. The doctor gave him the standard, eat well, get good sleep, exercise, drink a lot of water, etc., speech. Upon getting home, apparently all he remembered was, drink lots of water. My man pounded like 3 gallons of water over the course of a few hours, which is more than enough to dilute your blood enough to make you relatively hyponatremic, low sodium. He was rushed back to the hospital, and the same doctor saw him again. Upon discharge he asked the same question again. The doctor, utterly stunned at this guy's inability to keep himself alive, said, "Don't do that ever again." Dude got home and again all he could remember was, no water. We met him at about day 2.5 of no fluids, completely dehydrated and at death's door. Humans, I mean. Tailgating at 70 miles per hour. 100% of accidents are when 2 objects want to occupy the same space. And the logic of getting closer to the object in front of you at relatively high speed seems illogical to me. The way some people drive makes me really hate driving. I always point out bad drivers to my kids and why it's bad driving, so hopefully they're not one of them when they're older. I don't know what has happened within the last 5 to 10 years, but it definitely seems like more people are driving like assholes now. It's rare for me to see someone actually stop at a stop sign. I'd even settle for a rolling stop where the person slows down a lot, but even that is asking too much apparently. Like just straight up slightly slow to sling around a turn. A full force punch to the face. People have died from a single punch. Also just being pushed or falling on the ground. Human bodies can surprisingly be very weak and very strong. But not as strong as concrete. Eating grapefruit while on medication. Grapefruit has so many bad interactions with medication, ranging from rendering the medication ineffective, to toxicity. It's so funny how grapefruit is so lethal. They were able to put a new heart inside of me with no problems, but if I ingested some grapefruit I'd be a goner. Walking up or down the stairs. The most common accident at home is falling down the stairs. And don't leave shoes or other things on the stairs. Yeah, you know they are there, but does your spouse, or your child? Will they see them when it's dark or they are in a hurry? Sitting all day. Pregnancy. My wife is a medical professional. Our pregnancy was planned. We were educated on the process and what the risks were and what to expect. Holy shit. Between the scans, the tests, placenta previa, a false water break a month too early, a preeclampsia diagnosis and early admittance into the hospital. Also a heart arrhythmia for mom and poop in the womb for baby, a long and dangerous labor bordering on a C-section. Then a whisked away baby to clear his airway. The entire process is an absolutely traumatic horror show. Then they give you your baby and walk you out the door 36 hours later to raise it for the rest of your life. If you need someone's attention while they're using heavy equipment, in a non-emergency situation, let them finish before getting their attention. I work as a meat cutter. When I'm cutting something on the bandsaw, I have my back turned to the counter. Lot of customer expect to get service immediately as soon as they walk up to the counter. So I'm cutting something and they immediately make a loud noise to get my attention. Like picking up a metal signpost and banging it in the floor or slamming the counter. It surprises me, making me flinch depending on how loud it is. With my fingers inches from a saw that easily passes through the thickest of cow bones. I don't care how important your dinner date steak is. If I lose my hand, I will do my damnest to punch you in the face with my bloody stump. Additional info since I received a lot of comments about it. I am not alone. I have at least one other coworker working the counter. No, the bandsaw is not next to the service counter. That would be a very bad idea. The amount of bone dust, yes, just like sawdust, produced would make it very difficult to keep the front area clean. I work in a back area that is separated by a low wall and large open bay window. That's where we do all the meat production. That's where we can contain all the bone dust, blood, rendered fat, and other things that come with meat cutting. Also, that area is refrigerated. We have 2 massive cooling units on the ceiling with a total of 8 fans. It doesn't keep the production or refrigerator cold, but it does keep it around 50 F on average. Because of these loud fans, I can't hear my coworkers when they're talking at normal levels to someone in the front. I can hear voices but cannot distinguish what is being said. And that should give everyone an idea of how loud these assholes are. I can hear it extremely loud over the fans, loud bandsaw and bones being sawed. Electricity. You can't see it until it's too late. Harmless wires dangling around will put you into the ground. Even if it looks good, it can be done wrong and start a fire. Source: I'm an electrician. I do commercial refrigeration. High voltage, not compared to a lineman, but much higher than almost every other trade, and high pressure. High pressure systems and electricity will kill the fuck out of you and it will hurt the whole time you're dying. Bleach. Mix with ammonia, basically mustard gas, you died. Mix with alcohol, chloroform, you can pass out and have organ failure. Mix with vinegar, chlorine gas, you died. Bonus. Mix hydrogen peroxide and vinegar, peracetic acid, your lungs bleed. To clarify, do not clean pee with bleach. Pee has ammonia. Edit. I'm so glad to read this has helped some people not gas themselves. Hooray. Have fun and stay safe out there. Edit 2. Not technically mustard gas, but chloramine. Still just as nasty. This is super vague, but I think a lot of people often underestimate the dangers of water. Like the power of a river or sea current, water on the road, slipping in the shower, etc. Falling down. I know there are jokes about the whole, I've fallen and I can't get up. But it's a real danger. As we get older, our bones lose density and strength, so falling can actually cause legitimate injuries. And even if you're not old, unprotected falls are still dangerous. Street fights where people get knocked out and fall onto concrete is super dangerous. It doesn't take a lot of height to cause serious damage when falling and hitting your head. 911 dispatcher here. We've all laughed at the "I've fallen and I can't get up" commercial. But I don't laugh anymore. The number of times I've heard someone say that is scary. Falling is absolutely deadly for the elderly, especially those that live alone. The number of times I've sent an officer to check the welfare of an elderly person who hasn't been heard from for days or weeks, only to find that they had fallen and couldn't get up, and are now dead from dehydration, starvation, or some complication from the actual fall would surprise many people. If you have an elderly loved one, especially one that lives alone, make sure they have a cell phone they know how to use, how to keep charged. And keep it with them at all times. This can absolutely save their life. Gasoline. People put it in their cars every day, so they don't realize how volatile it is. YouTube is full of videos of people pouring gasoline on a campfire, or pouring it in a garbage can and sticking a match to it, only to find themselves sitting on their asses a half-second later, eyebrows singed off and flash burns on their faces and hands, if they're lucky. It's explosive. It's not like lighter fluid for your barbecue grill. Chiropractor's eye was born with quite severe scoliosis. It was cheaper to go to a chiropractor than an actual doctor growing up. This has resulted in significant damage to my back. When I finally got in to see a spinal specialist, he mentioned that upwards of 45% of his long-term patients were there because of chiropractors. He told me after reviewing years of my x-rays that the adjustments I was receiving actually made my spine worse than if I were to have not done anything. It is also pretty common for chiropractors to break bones. There were a few people that went to my doctor that were paralyzed by a chiropractor. When I was 16, a chiropractor did an adjustment that caused one of the discs in my spine to rupture. I also had my hip dislocated at one point. So yeah, chiropractors are not real doctors, and can cause a lot of harm. Lady I work with had a baby what always had their head cooked to the side. The old doc at the time said he just had a tight neck muscle and to send him to a chiro for babies. She took the baby to a chiro who did an adjustment. No x-rays, no nothing were done. The baby actually had a herniated disc, and when the adjustment was performed, it snapped back in place and severed the spinal cord. The baby died on the table the chiro did the adjustment on. Doc got off on a technicality that he recommended a chiro. It's not his responsibility to check for a super rare condition. The chiro got off on similar technicality in that the mom didn't ask for x-rays and it wasn't standard for babies. As a chef, it's food. I've seen people who cook at home with some very dangerous cooking habits. Everything from not washing hands after handling raw meat, it's all raw proteins, people, not just chicken, to not cooling leftovers properly and even proper storing procedures. Spoiler alert: don't store raw chicken above the salad you plan to serve with it. Those juices can drip down and contaminate everything. Personally, I think everyone needs to take a class on proper food handling for their safety and everyone's safety for whom they plan on cooking. Noise-cancelling headphones while walking in cities. You need to be able to hear your surroundings to react properly. Can easily walk into traffic or get swiped by a bike if you're tuning out the world. The newest AirPod commercial shows a woman walking through an empty city intersection with her headphones in, then shows all the chaos return when she takes one out. Not safe. It's important to be aware of your surroundings in dense areas. Overworking yourself. I had a coworker at my last job who just didn't have an off button and definitely didn't know how to say no to people in charge. He was always agreeing to overtime, working from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. 6 days a week, and doing stuff out of the job description, like repairing for refurbished products and driving trucks to help move product around. Despite the job supposed to be just being an in-warehouse packaging and shipping type job. Didn't get paid any higher than he was previously making too, though the overtime and double time pay probably did add up real quick. Hardest working guy I've ever met, but deep down I kind of feel bad for him. He told me he had to quit his last job as a UPS loader-unloader because his doctors told him he was literally killing himself with all the overtime he was taking. Said he weighed like 90 pounds, he's around 5 feet 10, and basically lived to work and sleep at the point. It's gotta be some sort of undiagnosed OCD or something when it hits that level. He's an awesome dude, but some people don't know how to let themselves relax. It's sad. I'm an avid skier. I was just skiing in Colorado at Loveland, and it's absolutely insane to me how people will click into their skis with little idea how to actually ski and very little idea where any given run will go and just go. If you point your skis downhill and let them go on a moderate pitch, you can get up over 30 miles per hour without trying to. There are so few things that people will do at that speed without knowing exactly what they're doing. And to be clear, the people who are put in danger are not just the jerrys who don't ski within their ability level, it's also everyone else around them. I watched a fully grown man absolutely destroy a woman this past weekend because he was out of control through a trail merge. The woman never even saw him coming and had no way to protect herself. Based on my experience lately on the road, merging without looking or using your blinkers. I was literally almost pushed off the road recently. Some asshat decided to merge onto my lane without even a glance. Would have rammed right into the side of my car if I hadn't honked a fuckton. Seriously people. Don't just look at the mirror. See if there's a car right next to you before merging. Christ. Ever since I did WHMIS training, I've gotten extremely paranoid around reading chemical safety labels. The training showed a foreign worker essentially making chlorine gas by accident in a dry cleaners and almost killing everyone in the building, and actually killing herself. Everyone who was exposed had permanent damage. There was a welder who didn't realize the chemical his work gave him had fumes that would burn off his eyes and face after just one use without face and eye protection. It costed him his marriage and his entire future. In the video he said he didn't even blame her as there was no hope for him and he didn't want to burden his then young wife with having to look after someone completely broken. And I think there was a driveway sealant part-timer who was a high schooler or something. They didn't give him any safety gear and he got cancer applying the sealant like how they told him to do it. I don't think I ever watched such horrific true events presented in such a dry and boring manner. And they kept interviewing the people about how their life was after the fact and what could have been done differently, and it was just scarring. It's such a simple thing to just trust your job to check chemical safety for you, but goddamn, if they didn't you can be royally fucked. I can't imagine just opening a barrel of something my boss told me to open and literally having my corneas burned out of my face. I also switched out many of my cleaners and detergents in my home to safer options wherever I could. Even something like ice melt I checked to see for warning and safety labels. Running water in a river or steam. Doesn't take much to swipe you off your feet. I think one of the most deadly rivers in the world is this one in England called the Bolton Strid. And it looks totally harmless. It's only 6 feet wide and appears to just be a normal brook. Apparently that's only the top. It widens a lot just a bit under the surface and has a ludicrously strong undertow. If any part of your body goes under the water, you're basically a lost cause. The fatality rate is damned near 100%. And to make things better, it's surrounded by slippery rocks covered in moss and algae. So yeah, the signs warning people to stay the hell away from it are not kidding. Nature in general. Most people don't seem to realize that Mother Nature gives zero fucks about humanity. Kitten bites. If a kitten has unclean teeth and bites you to the point you draw blood, there's a decent chance you can get a major infection and die. Their teeth are like little needles that inject bacteria right into your blood, and since they're teeth and so thin you'll heal from the bite really fast. However, your body never had a chance to clean the bacteria before the wound closed, so the rate of infection is crazy high.